Hey everybody, welcome to Superquest Saga, the show where we here at the Dungeoncast sit around the table and normally play some Dungeons & Dragons, but today we're just going to talk about it. My name's Will Stark, and today I'm just a guy.
Yeah. Hey. What's up, guy?
What's up?
Joining me as always are my friends.
Josh Freeland.
Your special guest, Jake.
And Brian, and today I'll be playing Brian. Today we're talking about, this episode's called Superquest Talks. I'm sorry. No, it's not. SuperTalk Saga. SuperTalk Saga. Yes, that is me yelling at the beginning. So, guys, how does it feel to play a Dungeons & Dragons actual play with thousands of viewers? Start with a question from Josh Freeland.
Okay.
Because I was hesitant to even do this because it's like I'm one of those people that's a big introvert. I was that kid, growing up, even in high school and college. I hated doing anything in front of the class, being called on to answer stuff. So for me, it was a big challenge. But I think being with a good group of friends and just everything going smoothly, it's like I've slowly adapted to it. And I still get the nervous shakes here and there and stuff like that.
Big moments.
But, yeah, or if I know there's something like on the interlude, sometimes I know I have to say certain things. It's like in my mind, I'm like, okay, don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. I say it over and over again. My heart starts racing and stuff. But it's crazy when you look up at the YouTube thing and you see all those likes and all those views. It's humbling for one, and then it's crazy that so many people are into the show, which is great. I love it.
It's true.
So.
Yeah, thanks listeners. It's become like second nature for me. I don't. It's not phase. I'm just here with you guys right now, but I know that on this episode in particular, we're talking to people that are on the other side of reality. I'm a time traveler. I'm on your screen, but I'm in the past right now. What about you, Jacob?
I feel like I'm kind of in the middle of both of you guys. Like I am. I'm introverted and a little bit nervous about it, but I also try not to think. I think the first live play thing we tried, like Scoov kind of prepared me for this. So by the time that we did this, I was like, oh, I've
already been through
ready.
This.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Scoov later, which was the predecessor of this game that no one has seen unless you're a patron.
And a patron from a while back, because that stuff is pretty.
It's buried deep. Yeah. So one day I found some of the lost files. So one day we'll get all that uploaded for patrons. Today, what about you, Will? How do you feel about having a successful YouTube game?
I don't really think about it very much, just because intentionally so.
Why add the nerves?
I'm already super hypercritical of everything I do. I don't need to think about 10,000 other people being critical as well. I already hated everyone. It's okay. No, I don't hate it. No, but I am very critical of my own work.
It is what it is. Yeah. So let's move on. Let's start talking about the game itself. So we play Superquest Saga. If this is your first episode, you did it wrong. Go back and watch episode 1. We recommend watching episode 1 and then going back to watching episode 0 because
if you liked 1.
Yeah, because of audio quality, we had a hiccup on our very first recording. So this is a session world builder. It's not so key and important, because hour 2 is very key and important. These are all like 1 hour chunks, 1 hour and change. I think our longest episode's like almost 2 hours.
I think we crossed 2 hours once. I think maybe.
We do that as a specific style. This is part radio drama, part D&D. It's kind of both interwoven together to like help express the narrative quickly.
True.
We don't have 4 hours to play on the game either, so that's something else. But we make do, and I think it's a credit to Will to get the pacing right. So let's
just slightly sped up of what I normally do.
Yeah, it works. So let's get into our characters. So as usual, we'll start with Will. This is going to be a round of player questions.
Yeah, sure.
And then we're going to have a round of DM questions, and then we're going to have a round of if you're on our Patreon, you can find us at the Dungeoncast, patreon.com/thedungeoncast. You get access to lots of bonus content, but you also get to ask questions that we'll read at the end of the show on the Dungeoncast, or that we're going to read right now. So if you were a patron, you got to send in questions to ask about Superquest Saga. So that being said, let's jump into Josh Freeland.
That's me.
Tell me about your relationship with Sebastian, the creation of him, what the concept was initially. We can talk about your building, because you didn't know about the time skip.
No, it's like it was very fluid. It kept on changing. I think originally I wanted to be a Minotaur barbarian.
I remember that.
Yeah, I thought about doing a Minotaur in this game. Kind of went back and forth, a couple different concepts. Had some conversations with Will about the campaign, and actually ended up deciding on the half orc. It sounded like they were going to be important to the.
I forget what I said. I said if one of you, because I think two of you were debating half orc. I go, if one of you picks half orc, there's going to be a big payoff. Because that was
one of my other picks. I was like, Minotaur or half orc. I think there's one other one I was contemplating, and then Will mentioned that. I was like, I'll do the half orc. That sounds good to me. And the paladin was something new for me. I have never played a paladin before.
You've never played a caster before either, right?
No, really. It's always been fighter, barbarian. I did ranger a couple times, which
that's a little light casting.
It's not much casting at all. But I was always intrigued. Of course, playing Diablo 3, using a crusader and stuff. Yes. I was like, it'd be kind of cool to play a paladin, and then I see Jake playing it, and they're like Vault Raiders and stuff, and Will doing it too. I was like, the paladin seems like a really cool class. So I was like, let's do that. So,
it's a beefy fucking class.
Fits your play style.
And I wanted
super well rounded.
I was like, I always play a tank of some sort. I was like, it'd be kind of cool to play a tank that has some casting ability and some healing ability too. I think would be beneficial for the group. So.
Smeet days.
Hell yeah.
Big smites. Did you have like an idea for Sebastian's personality, or is that something you filled in post?
It was. I had some general ideas from the get go. I knew that he was raised in a very strict household with his dad and stuff, and wasn't very sociable. Because he was held under lock and key for the most part.
You were like that kind of like, I can't let everybody know that he's a half orc sort of thing.
Yeah. So he was raised to take on more of the human side of being a half orc, and which kind of came up with a name that was part of it too. I was like, I want him to have more human traits,
a very human name,
and a human name. So I originally was thinking about Alexander as one of the names, and I ended up going with Sebastian. I think it was like I was reading an article about Sebastian Stan from Winter Soldier. I was like, Sebastian sounds kind of cool. I'd go with that one.
Yeah.
And then Crenshaw came about randomly. I was listening to Tupac. To Live and Die in LA came on, and he mentions Crenshaw in that song, and for some reason Crenshaw just stuck.
Interesting.
I was like, Crenshaw. I was like, that sounds kind of cool.
Pretty,
so I just went Sebastian Crenshaw. I was like,
it rolls off the tongue.
At one time, I thought about changing the last name to Greenland.
I forgot about the brief Greenland phase you had.
Yeah, it's too much about that. But it's also like I have a slight speech impediment, and I was trying to say that last name in the character's voice.
And it wasn't
I had
working.
the hardest time doing it. I was like, no, I'm going back to Crenshaw. I was like, that was easier to roll off the tongue. And
I like
Hell
it.
yeah.
All right, Jake, you're up.
What was your question again?
The inception of the character, right?
Yeah, like why you picked the race and class, and was there meaning behind the character creation sort of in itself? These are some general blanket questions that we're going to ask first to kind of cover everything, and then we're going to move on to the patron stuff.
Yeah, she kind of came around from another Patreon show that me and Brian do, F-Bats. So it was pretty much, I was trying to make a character for that show, and I'd come up with either a druid or a monk, and I ended up doing the monk on that show, and I was like, and then we were talking about this show, and I was like, well, maybe, I already built the druid, so I was like, maybe I'll just use that. And then the character concept was like Starfire from Teen Titans, but with Beast Boy's powers. And that was
super
also
dope. I like that. That's really dope.
that was still the concept from the superhero game, like from FBAT. So like it all pretty much stayed the same, but the race kind of just came from what's a good druid.
Yeah,
like that's all I was looking for. Folks are traditional druids.
Yeah.
And then class was just already picked out, basically.
And you also didn't know about the time skip.
No, I did not. That was basically all Will told us was like, don't get too far into your
I was
backstory.
like, do not flesh out your backstories because you're going to want to have some sort of like freedom here once I fuck everything up.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's good. That's a good concept for gaming, especially this kind of gaming, to leave blank space for development. For me, I never played a human. And I thought that would be the best pick for Warlock. And it was all kind of like metagamey stat-based why I went human, so I could do variant and pick the things I wanted to make Carter exactly the way he was supposed to function as like a concept more. I like to build my characters with the backstory in mind when I'm picking spells and abilities and things like that, like why this character is this way. And obviously, like picking the feat where I stay alert all the time and like and then compounding it with like staying awake 24/7. That was like Carter's paranoia manifesting into mechanics.
Right.
And then spells I picked were just like, I'm fucking evil as fuck. So let me just show that off. Yeah. But I did know about the time skip Brian knew.
Yeah, Brian's the only one who knew, but you knew
Carter
just
did
a
not.
very minimal amount.
Yeah, you were like,
skipping,
I'm gonna
it.
fuck you up in time, bro.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool.
I said, you're going to jump forward in the future, you're going to be in space. It's going to be a space adventure, and that's all Brian knew.
Yeah, so because
And the only reason I let you know is because I had to run it by somebody to make sure it was a good idea.
Well, it worked out because you were dangling the half-orc thing in front of somebody, and then you were also dangling the Great Old One Warlock. He was like, it'd be cool if somebody went Great Old One Warlock, and I was like, well, that's kind of what I want to do already.
Cool,
and you also dangled the Circle of the Moon Druid in front. You were like, also, if somebody wants to do Druid, like, that'll be cool.
I remember dangling half-orc. I don't remember the other two, but I do believe you guys.
Well, I don't think you dangled it. I think I just said that's what I was thinking, and you're like, a Circle of the Moon Druid would be dope.
Oh, okay.
And I was
I
just
can
like,
see myself doing
that's
that.
it. Like, it's good.
For sure.
Yeah, Carter's backstory unfolds as the story. I wrote those intros as the story was moving. Like as episodes came up, I would write a new one and develop the backstory from there.
Super well done.
So how did the We'll jump back to stuff like that in a little while. How did the early time warp twist affect the characters' designs afterwards? Once you guys got flipped into the future, how did that change your perspective on your character that you had created, and how did it change these little bits in the backstory? And we'll elaborate on that a little bit. Chemical is going to get the first question from a patron because it becomes relevant right here.
Okay.
How much did the players know about the time displacement going into the game, which we covered?
We just answered that.
And after hearing after hearing characters' backstories, I've always been curious if Jake and Freeland had imagined resolving the family issues in their backstories that were presented but never got the chance to. This one's from Magnus Rock, who also put out a relevant question. Did they leave anyone they loved or miss in Old World, like companions or friends that weren't mentioned, potential partners? It's hard to believe that they wouldn't have any friends or anything, especially Persephone, and then maybe Carter.
I think Persephone's the one who certainly didn't have
Yeah.
friends.
So let's cover that. Let's
Yeah.
start with Sebastian. You had a daddy.
Had a daddy who
He spanked you.
Yeah, he kicked his ass, man. Made sure he stayed in line. Sebastian believes his dad's dead. His dad disappeared, never came back. So he believes he's dead, but there's no proof of it.
I believe
In
he
Old
was
World.
dead.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Certainly dead
For
now.
sure, 100% dead. Yeah, for sure.
You find your dad frozen on an asteroid.
Unless-
Like, whoa, what the?
We cryo unfreeze him.
He stuck apart onto the tower.
A second time
yeah.
machine.
Oh, shit.
So I mean, he was kind of like held under lock and key, really. So he probably knew a few people here and there, but of course, as we found out in one of the interludes, his mother was killed, so he lost that connection. So he wasn't really close to anybody. He does miss the Old World, though. That
that came up last episode.
He craves for that. He wants to be back there.
So there were some
not necessarily because of the people, just because of the world that
Familiarity.
Yeah.
and there were some mechanical implications with the time skip. You were no longer connected to your god, which you originally designed your character around. Was that pretty jarring?
Yeah, I mean, I had to find something to attach to, you know. So, yeah, it's like
It was
it's like-
conquest.
yeah, exactly. So
Domination.
Oath of Conquest to Dominion, you know. So it was one of those things like, okay, I just lost my connection to the god where I was starting to learn all my different powers from, and all of a sudden I have to try to tap into something else to get my powers from. So yeah, that definitely was a little bit of a learning experience with Sebastian. So.
Okay, so for Persephone, do you have anyone that you left behind? I know the answer to this, but maybe you should just recap your backstory a little bit. Such tragic.
No, I mean, maybe some, maybe some sad wolves or foxes or other animals in the area might have been sad that I'm no longer there to feed or care for them.
Your whole thing was that you were born albino or like different from your tribe. And
I was abandoned at a very young age and then basically raised by the forest and kind of fended for myself. So, I mean, animal friends probably, but I mean, she was kind of used to being by herself, so she didn't really leave anybody behind. Shit, what else was the
just
was
like
a lot.
basically, did you have anybody you left behind or like anything that you wanted resolved? But you lost your powers too when you transferred over.
That was super jarring, was the change from the Circle of the Moon to like the galactic druid thing.
Right.
Like I miss my direwolf. I miss my bear. But I also have super dope Pokemon forms now, so that's even better.
That's a straight up.
So I kind of traded up a little bit in certain places. And also I think she's like, because she was by herself so much, and I think she's kind of learned to roll with the punches. Like she has that yearning for connection because she was by herself, but she's able to fend for herself because that's what she's done her whole life.
Yeah. Okay. So with Carter, it was not jarring to time skip necessarily, other than like it was craziness to do that. Carter wasn't necessarily expecting. Carter didn't know. Carter was getting the vibe from the patron. Like, you need to go do this shit. Get on the boat. Do the boat. Kill all the bugs in the eggs or whatever it was that I did with the Eldritch Blast.
Yeah.
So when it happened, Carter's just rolling with the punches. The mystery of Carter's backstory has not yet been fully unraveled. I want to save that for post campaign when we do like we end this campaign and bridge into another one. We'll do a Carter centric arc in Old World, I think is what we'll do.
Cool. That'd be dope.
And I'll probably DM it and Will can play. And we'll be some inconsequential fools that do some cool shit. However that might end.
Right.
But that'll tell you the rest of what happened between the final interlude the final intro with Carter and what happened when he picked up with the team. But yeah, I didn't get to lose my powers because my deity exists outside of time and shit. So whatever.
Makes sense.
Carter was like. He's a little empty on that end. He doesn't have those personal connections at that point. He severs all ties pretty much in the time that you guys spent with him in the intros. Like, he doesn't really make a strong personal emotional connection ever again because he's a broken, insane person after all that. And he follows the fate of his father and gets like, basically that develops all later where Carter kind of becomes his dad pretty much, just like a thing. But he's his own man. But he's not, because he's basically a slave. Like, his brain has been warped to the point where he just takes commands and he's just power hungry and driven to do whatever it is that a Carter do. You guys saw what he was all about. So
yes, we did.
That's pretty much it for that. So the next question, we have a couple more about characters.
It's fine. Yeah.
Did your character change as the game progressed? And in what way? Like, how did your character develop as we played sessions together? Sebastian Freeland?
I mean, a huge change for him off the bat was losing his god, because he was raised to follow this god and he devoted his life to the god.
Yeah, let's pick up after you kind of got in your boots a little bit on that one. You broke in your new powers. You're back to your old self, kind of, but different.
Yeah.
From there on, now you're your new character.
He's bitter, man. I mean, his whole race has been wiped out. The orcs, all half orcs. I mean, it's a rude awakening for him. So. Yeah.
Sorry.
So he's it's a tough pill to swallow because he's like, I'm the last of my kind. It's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, he's just on a revenge trip now, just go out there and do what he can. And I mean, I think deep down, like I said, he wants to be back in the old world. I think part of it was, to be back where there are orcs. Right. And just be back around his own kind.
Kind of learn that side of yourself. Yeah. Because now you don't really have the chance.
Yeah. It's like, and that's the thing is he is tapping into his orc side a lot more than he used to because he was raised a certain way where he had to be more human than orc. And now with everything that happened, he's definitely leaning a lot more towards the orc side now. So he's taking that in and really, embracing that side of him.
Okay. Yeah, I see Sebastian in the later episodes, showing that anger and getting more passionate and finding like more drive to do specific things. So
100%.
And I saw you like clinging to Prim a lot, like as a protective element in her story. So that was really cool to see and you kind of change that way.
Part of that too is he can relate because she's the only one of her kind that they know of,
Right.
So he's like, he feels like I'm the only kind of mine or the last one of my kind and you're the only one of your kind. So we're both kind of in the same boat, It's like we're the last of each. So.
And you guys are all like unique circumstances of your species, which I find really, really interesting. It really fits with my theme of the campaign. Yeah. But sorry, continue.
Should we move on to Jacob now?
Yeah.
I think she's changed more because like now she has people around her. Because I think before she might have like tried to sneak into town, but because she was so different, she got like chased out. Like I definitely did. Give her a very tragic backstory of being unwanted. So now she's in an area where she is being wanted. And then with the galactic druid thing, like she's kind of like accepting the responsibility of like I think she took it upon herself to be like, I'm now gonna take care of all of the galaxy.
Right.
So she's just kind of wanting to mama Percy everybody.
Yep.
It don't matter who you're getting adopted, and that's that.
That's awesome. I love it.
So yeah, I think she's not. I think she's trying not to let what happened with Carter turn her bitter or to stop her from being the light that she wants to be in the galaxy. So yeah, I don't know. Changing, but I feel for the better.
I know with Carter in the first couple episodes before the time skip, I struggled with like how nasty am I gonna be?
Right.
You know, and like what kind of things am I gonna do, and like what is Carter gonna show his companions in the early game? But luckily, not enough time went by for me to experiment so much. We got into like a kind of dire situation right away. So I kind of went into like, okay, survival mode. Like I will do better as a survivor with these 2 little mini tanks I got. So, and then that's the energy that I carried over into the time skip. Like, well, I'm here with you guys for a reason. Like Carter's all about karma and for a reason stuff. Like this is all fate. This is all his fate. It's unavoidable. Everything is unavoidable, and he controls like the micro actions of his overall destiny. So like he needs to make the like whatever is common sense to Carter and whatever made sense is what he would do, and he knew that would follow and lead to the things that were meant to be. So he would just like, well, these guys are here and they're strong and they're my allies right now, and I fucking hate them, but like we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna like try to keep it together as Carter. So he went and found people like Fred and like these dark underlings, and it kind of gave me the room and to explore like, okay, Carter can be really sneaky, and Carter can like keep secrets and hold information back and kind of manipulate with persuasion and the high charisma that he had to like get through NPC interactions and things without revealing who he really was. And he held back a lot of different kinds of magic in certain situations to mask what was going on. You know, the spell I put Percy in at the end, the Evard's Black Tentacle Sphere or whatever that was. Yeah. Like that was one I was like, okay, that's going to be crazy if they just see that shit, you know, super early. So I saved it for a time when it was like, well, it's going to be like flashy and kind of dark, but it's going to do, you know, Blood Gala. That's when that came out. So that's kind of
when that happens.
Carter lashed out during Blood Gala. Like, I'm just going to be myself. Like, this is a chance to perform and be extreme.
To be my nastiest self.
And be nasty as like, this is just a character.
It's persona,
It's not me, it's just an act.
But then like, I knew.
But it is me.
Yeah.
You know, me and Will worked together to like whip Carter back into shape after that. Like you're fucking up doing this type of shit. Get back to normal. And you know, after that it was nose to the grindstone, and Carter is gonna get back to being sneaky. And then it starts falling apart at the end a little bit, but just in the nick of time, fucking left turn. And
And you dipped.
I'm glad that happened when it did, because I don't know if we could have gotten through another arc of Carter with the things that had happened between him and Sebastian. I don't know how that was going to go down.
Right,
so
100%.
We were talking. Will and I were talking about.
Yeah,
Will and I were talking about one more arc of Carter. And we were like, no, like I think it's time. Like it's time now.
Yeah.
And it worked out. I thought it was the right time. I was done. I was pretty
100%.
much done with Carter at that point anyway. So let's get into some DM questions.
Okay, sure.
I'm going to
I'll
ask.
do my best. They're probably going to not be very long.
So we have some DM questions. The first one is, why space? And I'll elaborate on that a little bit. Magnus Rock sent in a question for Will.
Okay.
How long did it take you to craft the homebrew of Superquest? I think he meant Superquest Galaxy. And what additions or stuff to use for inspiration? We kind of tackled that on the Dungeoncast a little recently, but our audience between the show and that show are split. Check out the Dungeoncast.
So how long did it take me? It took me a while, because I was working on a space homebrew campaign for maybe like 8 or 9 months before like the idea even became a thing for Superquest Saga. But I was just like dabbling in it. Every once in a while I would just kind of hit the book and add a little piece, or if I had an idea I'd scribble down the note or whatever. But as for why for space, I just like space. Like I grew up as a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut, so I was obsessed with space as a kid. And I just like space stuff, and so I thought a space campaign would be fun. And I kind of wanted to prove that I was able to do it, because I talk a lot of talk about like, you know, D&D being able to cover any genre. So I was like, well, I believe in it, so why don't I give it a shot?
Hell yeah.
And then
we get people that are like, you guys should be using this system or this system, but
No,
this covers it.
Yeah,
It's just
I'm fine. And then it was inspired by a lot of different things for this homebrew universe. The comic book series Saga is a big one. Obviously, Outlaw Star. Anyone who's familiar with Outlaw Star can see that plainly. Different books, Stormlight Archives, pretty much anything from Sanderson's Cosmere series. Trying to think what else. Guardians of the Galaxy even, has its place as an inspiration.
Tenchi,
so yeah,
Tenchi Muyo.
Tenchi Muyo, yeah, there's a lot of Tenchi in this. And so I just take pieces from all the different space stuff that I like, kind of amalgamate together.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we know the answer to this one, but maybe the audience doesn't know this part. But any unexpected twists?
Yes.
I mean,
many.
Time skip was your machination. That was your whole.
Yes.
That was the whole thing to get us to space and to make D&D make sense. So what are a few things? And this is from Freeland. What are a few things that have caught you by surprise? Whether it be things characters did or didn't do, or how players reacted to something in particular.
I wrote down an answer to this one because I had to think about it. So what was the first part of the question?
Generally, any unexpected twists, but to elaborate on it, like, is there something specific that a player did or didn't do?
Oh, so we're talking in the past, not moving forward. I thought that's what.
No. In the past, so far, this is like, did we derail something or do something you didn't expect?
Did you guys derail anything? You've done things I didn't expect. Like, I didn't expect you guys to go to Zovra.
That's the one.
There was nothing there for you guys.
Almost died.
But it ended up being a really good episode, so I enjoyed it. Yeah, you almost died.
Yeah.
It changed you guys, but it didn't change the campaign.
It opened up the world a little bit, which I really love when that happens. We get some NPC interaction. We got that cool tavern guy. We got some dwarf talk. We got some character interaction.
It was a dope planet.
It was raining there. It had like a mining system.
It was definitely fun coming up with it because it's like, well, I'm forced to think about something I never thought about before, so let's think about it.
It's kind of the magic of the game, when something goes and takes a left turn unexpectedly, you need to kind of build something around that.
So the two more recent things that like kind of surprised me is I'm surprised Carter survived. I intended on Carter to die. And now that he's not dead, as a DM, I have to deal with that. And I have to like think about the long term, what that means for both you guys and for like the stuff that's happening, which is fine. Like, that's how D&D works. And I got a lot of cool stuff in mind. And then the other thing is, I could not believe you guys did not say the name 3 times on the back of that fucking
very
card.
recently.
Like, and I've talked to people who listen to the episode, and they're just like, "What?"
I know.
So it just really surprised
me. For me, my long play was Sebastian from the get-go wanted to do it himself.
Right, for sure.
So I think that's why. But I know it didn't. Not many people agree with him.
I was so surprised.
I hate it so much.
Carter would have made you. Carter would have done it.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Carter was not about to be afraid of some devil shit.
And maybe I was gauging what the party does based off when Carter was in the party. This was like the first episode without Carter in the party.
Dynamic,
it's
for
true.
Sure, 100%. Yeah.
But yeah, that surprised me. Other than that, like, there's nothing you guys have really done that really shocked me.
Carter would have been like, "I want to see what happens as half orc right now. You say it, buddy."
Yeah, right.
And then when that thing showed, then the imp. If the imp was going to show up all along, it would have been cool to do it in that episode. But
the imp was going to show up all
along.
along.
Of course, he's got that plan. But I love what happened.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense, like, to me, for us to do it like in the middle of the exploding spaceship.
So I was like,
we need to go,
I
and
hard
then we need to
disagree
do
because
it.
it's like, you guys don't know where Prim is.
Yeah.
And there's only one person on this earth, and his name's on the back of this fucking card.
It's true.
Yeah,
my thought is we can do it as soon as we get out of it.
Yes,
though.
I was like, there was a giant space battle. There's a fucking void dragon about to explode right now. I was like, we got to go, but we also need to save this card.
Exactly.
That would have been Carter's argument. Would have been, well, we are going to get out right now when we read the fucking card.
I was expecting that too. I was expecting you guys to try and buy your passage out of here.
Yeah, just like Prim did. If we do the same thing Prim did, we'll be where Prim is, and then we're fucking strong.
Now, it wouldn't have worked, but I was expecting
That's the
it.
thing that I was like, oh, we have so many like Echo, like we have his ship
Echo
possibly.
that's a big no-no for Echo. That's why I didn't want to be involved in the spying on Sebastian during that. Echo don't want to know that yet. He wants to be surprised. I want Echo to be surprised about it. I think that would be more interesting later.
Yeah,
sure.
So I do make the decisions based on like what I think will be interesting for the show.
Definitely.
And as long as they align with what my character is about.
I feel it.
But yeah, for the most part, you guys don't do too much that like surprises me too much.
That's cool. Okay,
We'll see when I kill Sebastian and reincarnate him into something else.
Oh shit!
And break
without
the
his
campaign.
permission.
a gnome paladin all of a sudden. Like, what?
Yeah, we've been talking about the reincarnate spell a little bit, but that's not going to happen.
No.
So it's kind of a double up here. What was your approach to world building here? But I have some sub questions to tack on to that. Like, what are the decision making aspects of what you did with the deities in this world, the magic and the planes. I think we should just generally cover what the state of that is, and then why you made those decisions. And then
a lot of spoilers that I can't get into, but I'll do my best.
Well, just cover down what we know, because we know that the planes don't exist as they do in the regular D&D world. Everything kind of seems congealed together. You could just tell me like why you wanted to do that. If no spoilers for the future, we can cover all that in another Superquest talks at the end of the campamping.
My initial thought was like, okay, if I'm gonna fast forward D&D 100,000 years in the future, I think my original, God, it was so long ago. I think my original idea was like, well, why did everyone go to space? And so I had to come up with a why and then a how. And then
reverse engineer it.
The whys and hows that I came up with changed a lot of things. And so I had to think about like, okay, well, now that we're here so far in the future, like who rules, what areas, what are the powers, and why are they in power, and what's their history? And so I just kind of went along that line. And then of course, well, all the gods are dead. So like what's taking their place, and like how does the cosmology lay itself out now that like things are different because of things that happen that I can't tell you. So yeah.
I want to find out.
So on that, on that note, with deities, traditionally, I learned from the Dungeoncast and you that magic comes from a god.
Yeah, traditionally, although never in my worlds.
Okay, so that caps that. Yeah, there's that. Yeah. So that's pretty much all you need to know. What's your inspiration for monster and item homebrews and reskins? It's kind of the same things you touch on for the world building, or are there specific things that you look for when you're building a creature that doesn't exist, like your cyber troll, you know?
So, the cyber troll. I don't know. That one just, I just made that one up. That one was just like, I'll make a robot troll.
Here's a troll. Let's do a couple things different.
Yeah. Most of the answers are because it sounded cool. That's really what it comes down to.
I mean, that's totally fine.
When it comes to creatures, I think obviously there's a lot of Pokemon because I love Pokemon. Yeah. And Jake likes Pokemon too, so I use that as an excuse to give him Pokemon. And then if I'm not homebrewing it, like, from scratch, I'm usually trying to look through the Creature Codex or the Tome of Beasts, because there's a lot of weird shit in there. I'm like, well, that's very alien-esque. I'm going to use that, maybe change it, or maybe just keep it the same and just kind of add it into my world.
I like Tome of Beasts a lot. Yeah, that was a good one. So that's pretty much like the blanket questions we have. We have a lot of patron questions we want to get to, but I think we should talk about our history as players together a little bit.
Okay.
I initially got into... And I kind of mentioned that we weren't going to touch on this stuff a little bit, but
going to.
I think we're talking about Scoof so much that we should kind of explain what that is.
Oh, okay. We want to go. That's what you mean by going.
And to do that, I kind of need to tell you guys, like, I started playing D&D because of Will.
Yes. Right.
And we sat down and played a homebrew fantasy world game of his at Josh Freeland's house. Yeah. And that's how we all kind of started to become close friends. I think you're the same, right, Jake?
Brian pulled me in, and I was like, never played D&D before. Yeah. I was just like,
I remember the character building session.
Yes, that was fun.
That was fun, yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
And I've known Josh Freeland for like 10 years now, something like that, close to it.
Yeah.
And I met him at work, and I got him into D&D because I knew he was a nerd and he'd like it. And he did. He really did.
Right away.
And I met Will and Freeland both at work also. At a job which I shared. So we played that game for a little while, and then we went kaputs on it. A lot of games end like that. Yeah. So actually, most of the games, scheduling stuff. Everybody's seen the memes. So we ended up thinking when we started doing the Dungeoncast that started to take off a little bit. Said, okay, well, we need a live game or an actual play or whatever it was we were going to do, and we needed to come up with a concept for that. And Will thought I should DM it. So I started. Homebrewing a fantasy world. I struggled a lot with like who was going to play in it, what were the gods going to be like, what was the pacing going to be like, and it took a lot to get everything together and to get going and to figure out how we're going to film it, because we used to film shit with our phones.
Yes.
And we used to record shit on like our phones, like the
it's
audio.
True. It's true.
And we had so many hiccups with
a lot of problems.
And we had to play. These were like 3 to 4 hour, 5 hour, 6 hour sessions sometimes, because I didn't know how to DM really well or pace things. I didn't know how long things were supposed to take, how long things were going to go. We had like 5 players that I was in charge of, and that kind of bogged things down a little bit. Getting everybody together for the first couple episodes was super messy. Yeah. And then we moved on into some stuff that was we did some really cool stuff in that campaign. The world,
especially the longer it kept going.
The world felt rich. The world felt, the players began to congeal, but then like, I lost some footage and we had a bunch of like weird hiccups, and then I was like calling off work the next day because we'd played till like midnight and I couldn't wake up in the morning, and it was just causing problems and stuff. And we were just like, okay, well, like some things, and also I wasn't editing as I went, so like some things just got kind of out of control. But we learned so much from that experience. It made this game possible. We knew what we had done wrong. Not that we did a whole bunch wrong, just like the dominoes kind of fell in a certain way to end it, the way it ended, and we had to put it to bed. But I'm thinking that we do want to pick up some kind of game like that again after this is done. We'll see where we land. I definitely want to do the little Carter thing. We want to do a couple other little things to take a breather in between campaigns and reset and let everybody kind of calm down. And then we'll see what happens. All right, guys. So here's the meat and potatoes. Moment you guys have all been waiting for.
Ooh, the Patreon.
Unless anybody has something they want to throw in that didn't get addressed that they want to talk about, now's your time.
I think just if anybody has a chance, go check out Superquest Ultra 5 because the campaign was a lot of fun. They had really cool characters.
There's some
and stuff.
episodes buried deep in the Patreon. I'll try to feature it around the time this episode drops.
It's really
a good idea.
You know,
I
patrons
enjoyed
that are
it a
in there.
lot, so
Check it out. It was a good game. It was a lot of fun. We'll get back to something like that. I still have I know, my brain is still right there, just like every game I've ever not finished. It's just right there. So we're gonna start with some. I know we got some questions in from Kem and Magnus. So let's switch to Dave.
Let's meet him. What's up, Dave?
So some of these are gonna kind of be like recappy a little bit, which is good, I think. So this is from Dave. Was the Illithid ship that Prim was in intentionally sent back through time and space to be found by Carter? And that's if it's not spoiler worthy for you, if you'd like to answer that. Will.
I mean, that's spoilers, but also like intentionally by who?
Well, spoilers beyond this point. Yeah. So like I know we had the scene where the two ships are. We saw the video in the Elven ship where that ship was shot and its trajectory was supposedly like flung off. And
that had less to do with the time and more to do with like the horrible landing, which crashed the ship. Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean, they went back in time intentionally.
Okay.
But they didn't have anything to do with Carter as a entity or person or his patron or any of that. They were doing their own thing.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's that. I'm sure we'll get to that eventually. So that should answer that. And then number 2, are Sebastian and Prim going to have
I forgot about this
going
question.
to have to merge or make a baby in order to create the ultimate being? If I understand correctly, Prim has genes of 8 races and is missing orc DNA.
True. So number 1, that would be super spoilers, but I will say that I will never write a story which forces one of my players to have sex with one of my NPCs. That will just never happen. So no.
Carter was celibate. His junk don't work. I think I mentioned that.
I didn't know that, but I believe you.
Well, we had that scene with Molly Dalla where like thought I was gonna kind of do that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I was like, but Carter can't. Do that.
I didn't know.
I don't remember.
He got high charisma, but it don't no blood flow below
anywhere. Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
So that was like not a point. Like romance is not really integral to this story as far as I can tell. And until my take on it is until somebody can organically come up with a way to like implement romance into the story and make it feel right. Like, Echo's not going to be hitting on Victoria. It's just like that's just not that's not what he's there to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And it would be weird if Will decided like, well, I'm just going to start hitting on Echo. That would be a fun plot point to play with,
Sure.
But like until then, like I'm not going to try to force like, I'm going to roll to seduce the dragon.
Give me a wife, Will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'm going to push for the things I want, but I'm not going to try to like.
Sure. Yeah.
That kind of thing is awkward when I'm talking to Will.
Sure.
So it's probably not something I'm going to like. Romance is it's difficult.
It can be,
for me and this table.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to write a story where it's like the MacGuffin has to have sex with one of the players. They're just not going to do that.
Yeah.
So no.
Yeah. I think to kind of play off of that with Sebastian, just kind of give you where his headspace at. He kind of views Prim almost like a sister, where he's very protective of her. The younger sister, like he's there to protect her. That's his job.
Exactly.
So he kind of sees her in that way right now. So.
That's
for
fair.
sure.
That's fair.
Okay, I think that's a good answer. So you guys want to move on?
Sure.
More questions from Chemical. killing it, my man. What are y'all's favorite NPCs so far? We'll start with Josh Freeland.
Yeah, you guys go first.
There's so many of them. I mean, I'm kind of partial to Korak, of course, because
I
I love Minotaurs. Period. That's one of my favorite mythological creatures. And then Will kind of asked me if he could use that name because that was a character of mine. Not
Very
character,
different
very
character,
different version
but
of
it's
it.
the
But
same
he
name.
used the name,
Yeah.
which I thought was pretty cool for him to do that. So, but there's been so many. I love all the NPCs in this game, man. I'm trying to narrow it down. It's
Korak was a very good NPC.
Korak, just the way
Korak,
Will role played him was just hilarious. Loved it.
It was
Well,
fun.
we used that character in almost every game we've played.
What do you mean?
Like
Like
Freeland
an
has had
iteration of Korak.
I had Korak in Superquest
You
Ultra
did.
5.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, it was a plot point for later.
Oh,
but
okay, so we didn't encounter Korak.
I talked to Freeland when I was, Dungeon Master
Gotcha.
player. Like he's in the world. He lives here, and you guys were almost about to meet him before we broke stuff off. He was
That's
gonna
cool.
like be around a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Korak was in your game as well, wasn't he? Or some version of
A game that Will and I played beforehand, a while back.
Yeah,
ago.
that's
The
where
fourth edition.
that's
It was
where I
fourth
asked
edition
him if I
game.
could use the name. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fourth edition
Yeah.
game we had played back in the day.
cool.
So
Yeah.
it was a Minotaur fighter. So, but yeah, I mean,
So Korak's your answer?
I have to. I mean, as they start saying their answers too, I'm sure they'll jog my memory of other ones as
sure.
well. So
I think like Sotteros and Mr. Midnight are
Yeah,
pretty
Mr.
dope.
Night, Mr.
Like
Midnight,
those
yeah.
are like Outlaws Horizon
that was a fun world.
made some
Glad
very
we're
cool
back.
NPCs
Yeah.
happen. Like I was like, oh, this is all pretty sick. I
it's
can't
my
really
favorite
think
place.
of like, I love Prim. Like, but
yeah.
I
don't-
I view her as like a person in the party, not like an
Right.
NPC. So
Exactly.
I'm just
Same
like,
here.
I don't know.
like Victoria, Prim, all of them. I
Yeah,
view them
they're
as
part of the
characters,
team.
not NPCs.
Yeah.
But they are NPCs.
Yeah, they are technically, but I just
I feel you. I understand.
Yeah, like almost like DMPCs, but I don't
They-
think they're like
they don't do
officially
anything.
statted. Really?
Hell no, they're not.
Yeah.
I don't know who else.
The
I mean
whole-
that.
the whole crew is great. I mean,
Yeah.
Watt, Victoria, all of them. It's like
Carter's my favorite NPC.
now he is NPC.
Actually, no, he probably won't be my favorite NPC.
Right.
So far, I like the freelancers.
Ooh, yeah.
Freelancers are pretty
I like
dope.
Gil. He had some badass scenes.
Yeah, I like
and then
Gil.
he was like, "Just kidding, I could have killed you, BGs,
The
anytime."
whole time.
Yeah,
It's true. It's
so
very
let's
true.
want to play a game. Gil is bounty hunter Jigsaw. Let's go.
The Meldaria, the Justice Saint you just.
Oh yeah, Melena, daughter of
Oh, that's a good
Daria,
one.
daughter of Melena.
My
yeah.
favorite
Very
bad
dope.
guy so far.
Yeah, she
The
had like
least
2
annoying.
lines.
She
Whisked
just
out of
Boba
the
Fetted
room.
us though. Like,
She did, yeah.
and then she's everybody's favorite because she's dope.
hell yeah.
Shout out to Hobla Man. Or did
Hobble Man for some
Oh,
very dope
yes.
characters.
I was like, wow,
Alright.
that looks a lot like what I pictured.
Yeah.
You guys can check out our Discord in the link below. There's some great,
some hot art
people in
in
there
there.
doing some
Yeah.
art.
Yeah.
If you're an artist and you like this show, jump in there, man. We'll post it on our social.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We'll love it.
Will, your favorite NPCs?
So you guys named everyone on my list. I have Prim, Zacer Bay Knight, Satoros, Korak, and then you didn't named Maladala. I really liked
Oh
her.
yeah, Maladala.
You guys
liked her
will
too.
never see her again because I'm never doing that horrible accent again. But
You did so
I
good with
did
it, though,
love
man.
her.
It was a good time.
I'm a firm believer that you can just like put stuff through your will filter and it comes out different
comes
than
out-
you
yeah.
intend, and that's
Yep.
perfectly fine.
That's so good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say Molly Dollar.
Yeah,
but
she
then I
was
was like,
fun.
then all these other people.
Also, I like the announcer at the
Yes.
fight.
Right.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
Drop
And,
me a mic. That was a fun moment.
Splack,
Somebody get
Splack
rid of
was
a
fun.
mic.
Splack. That's actually Chemical's 5th question is hashtag justice for Splack.
Splack's fine.
That's not a question,
He's
but
fine.
yeah, he
They
lived.
healed him, right?
He
He's
lives.
still a local legend. Yeah, he had a heart attack.
He's the one
fine.
that survived Stranger
They got
Things.
space medicine. They're fine.
Oh my god! I didn't know he lived through
Yeah,
that.
no, he
Seals.
didn't die.
He had a heart
just
attack.
Heart attack
Man.
went down.
People don't die anymore from heart attacks, really.
Everybody's
Well, they do,
giving me
but-
all this
yeah.
shit for killing Splack, and he's alive this whole time.
He's fine.
Okay, so my second favorite
Sad I
NPC
didn't
is
kill him
Watt,
now.
and that didn't happen until I roleplayed Watt for
Oh,
like
for
5
sure.
minutes.
Very good. Yeah.
Destroyed him. Okay,
And then
so
everything was non-canon from
Exactly.
that.
well,
Yeah.
actually, it went over
Maybe
really well. People seem to
People
enjoy
loved
that.
it. Yeah, people
they
did
did.
love it.
Does anyone have any pregame rituals? Oh, I skipped one. Sorry. Let me go back. Do you think the series would ever lend itself to having a guest player at the table for one episode or a small arc?
Yeah, sure. Like I'm
Fifth
definitely
man,
open
fifth
to
woman.
it. Yeah, sure.
A 5th person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely
Don't know who.
more so for an arc, not a permanent. spot. But yeah,
We
I
have
would
the-
be open to guests.
We have the microphone space, but we do not have the room real estate.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So we'd have to I don't know.
We'd have to reconfigure.
Skyping people in can be difficult.
Extremely
with our
so.
setup.
Yeah.
We are working within a box, and we're trying to break out, and it's all thanks to Patreon people that have allowed us to even get to this point. But one day we want like a studio with ample space that we can like set things up exactly the way we want and make things look really, really crisp and get all our angles right and get all our sound like dialed in super good. And then we can explore those things later. But as for this campaign, it's probably not going to happen. Next campaign, we might be in a position where we can make that happen.
True.
So next question is, does anybody have any pregame rituals like rolling dice to get them warmed up for the game?
Oh,
I just say right before we start that I'm not ready.
Yeah.
that's every
single
time.
I was talking
Every
to Brian.
Dungeoncast also.
Yeah.
He was getting everything ready, and I was just like, existential dread, maybe.
Yeah, that's definitely,
No, not really.
Yeah.
I used to get super nervous before our regular unfilmed games, but when the camera and the mics are on, I'm like, cool, I'm
it's
fine.
fine.
I
Yeah.
don't get it.
I mean, I do roll dice. I was thinking maybe like putting all the dice in front of my tray and then putting them all on like the
You do that a
highest.
specific way every time.
Put them all on like the highest number, like so when I grab
yeah.
it, it's on a crit, or when I grab the D6, it's on a 6.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's like a ritual or anything like
Yeah,
that.
and it's
just
something
get
I
my
think
dice
everyone
ready.
does. I've done it 5
Yeah,
times
yeah, I
since
see
we've been
it. I
recording.
see it up
yeah.
there.
And when there's click clacks around, you want to touch them and roll them.
It's true, indeed.
What about you, Josh?
Not really. I mean, by the time I get here, I come, go home from work real quick and just head on over here to crank it out. I don't have much time to do anything else really, and just sit down at the table, get my stuff out. And you guys are usually here before I am.
just cracking,
and just
yeah.
ready to go. So
I set up the lights and mics and stuff, so that's what I do before the game, and then I get all my shit out. That's pretty much it. Just dialing in. We've got like recording stuff to do. I don't think I used to really do anything except for like make sure I had a drink with me and like
Right.
stuff like that. Like that's kind of ritualistic. Or like now I have my sweet What the Grumsh mug.
yeah.
Right here, we keep all our pens in it. You can get that on our Patreon. It's a lot of Patreon talk.
I think for me, as I'm driving over here, it's about a 15-minute drive. It's not that far at all. It's like I try to replay all the stuff that we just went through the last session.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's why I
try
did
to
the recap at the
refresh. I'm
beginning.
like,
yeah.
okay, what just happened? Try and get the headspace of the character. Try to really think what the Sebastian would do next, or where his mindset would be. So
Oh, I do almost always practice my voice on the way from work to here to make sure it's warm. I'll either like sing a little bit or get my vocal warm and talk, and I'll probably look like crazy person to passerby.
Just arguing.
what the-
I've actually seen somebody like I'll practice like yelling or whatever, and I'll see somebody staring at me. I'm like, I'm not yelling at anybody. I swear. What about you, Will?
I definitely, I say I'm not ready because I never am. But also, I usually spend my time reading through this book, my notes, everything I wrote, which we filled this up. This is now full.
Oh, is
the
it?
first half of the campaign
Volume
is in this
1,
book,
baby.
And I got to buy another one of these.
Right on.
Hell yeah.
So we kind of covered this a little bit. The last question, besides hashtag Justice First Black, which apparently there was Justice First Black.
He's fine,
yeah.
Maybe not justice, but
Yeah.
recovery.
indeed.
He needs
Now
to
the
learn.
justice is that he needs to actually die.
He needs to learn.
We're going back.
We're going back, and I'm gonna kill him again, guys. Let's make sure he stays dead.
So Kem asks, how did it all begin? Did you guys know you were at some point going to play an extended live play? That sort of thing. We kind of covered that already.
yeah.
Or did Will just show up one day and said, I have a campaign? It's both. All that we kind of covered that. So thanks, legendary listener Chemical, for your questions.
Hey.
Let's do one from Thantos, which is going to kind of break down some of the very early game stuff. He says, maybe I missed it, but how were the adventurers so easily able to adapt to something so foreign to them as far as space travel? If one had access to someone from medieval times, sorry, kind of messy, and sent them to like the moon, how would they react? Their head might explode, consider it devilry, or just gods, or just being out of time and uneducated. He can't imagine how someone from today might respond to technology from even 500 years from now. So that one, I feel
For
like,
me, I'm just like, you guys come from a world of magical bullshit. Like,
but also
it's fine.
it wasn't easy.
No,
for
and
anybody.
also
Yeah.
there was struggle and there was like a whole lot of adaptation, but I almost feel like a D&D character would be way more ready to like deal with the change than like a real life person.
Yeah. Like I had Carter went through bullshit already that was beyond his understanding. So like this is no big deal. He just was like, it's happening again.
Yeah. And also, you guys were freaking out for like 6 episodes.
I remember the first
What's
episode.
that? What's going on?
Like, what is that witchcraft?
Exactly.
What is
And
this
then
hologram?
on the episode where you guys finally stopped freaking out, there was literally a 2-month time jump. I'm like, okay, guys, everyone needs to stop freaking out now and tell me what where they are now. Yeah.
You guys have been studying on stuff, learning robotics or whatever the case may be.
Go watch the Meridar 3 episode. I think this guy is just like tripping balls that he can't wild
and this
shape.
guy's like, my God, he's dead.
Yeah, that's all that episode is.
What is going on?
Yeah, Carter's a psychopath. He doesn't apply that. Those rules don't really apply to him.
No,
so, also, how did they communicate? Middle English isn't very popular among spacefarers. You missed the Babel Fish.
Yeah, they get the translators in episode 2, and I think I explained the way the translators work via like intent. Like I think in like episode 23 or something like that. Yeah.
Can you recap that a little bit? Because I think we need to retcon something, but I'll bring that up after you kind of.
Okay. So they are Magitech, and they're essentially designed to whoever they're attached to.
Magitech is magically infused technology.
Yes, exactly. Whoever, like, let's say I was wearing a translator, theoretically, it would take whatever I'm saying and decipher the intent from my brainwaves, and then transmit it to all translators within whatever the radius you set it to is. And then those translators would take the intent of the communication, translate it into something that the listener in their earpiece can understand. And so that everyone kind of hears things in their own like native tongue.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So with that being said, lots of things are happening during our game. We've got lights on, cameras on. We're under some pressure to get it done right in one shot. You know, we don't want to make too many cuts and make things hard in post. We got mics on us. We got a lot of things to think about, and we're playing at a very fast pace. So to remember things as we're going is sometimes not always possible for us. We did have a scene with Echo and the communicator that, upon reflection, doesn't quite add up to me. Persephone talking to the singers. So
they didn't have communicators.
They don't have communicators, but Persephone did.
Yes.
So could she not understand?
Nope.
Why was
There's
that?
no intent to being transmitted to her translator because they don't have a transmitter on.
Is it like a two-way communication?
Yeah.
Oh, so there needs to be both.
Yes.
People need to have one.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so does Echo have one then?
Yes,
I would figure he did.
Everyone generally would have one.
Okay, so
they don't. They're slaves. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So that totally makes it clean. I was like, wait, shouldn't they have been? You have been able to understand them. No. Okay, good. And then I was like, wait, if that's true, then Percy should know that Echo lied. But if Echo was doing a lie and knew that she was going to know, he wouldn't have done that. So I thought we were going to have to retcon something, but I'm really glad we don't.
Yeah, we do not. It's
great.
good.
That's great. We have, if you've seen Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or have read the books, the Babel Fish is essentially what this is, more or less.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was like in that show, they pop a little fish in the ear that just starts making language work. So it makes everything real smooth and we don't have these barriers. So don't worry about that one. It's because of magic. So thanks, Santos. Appreciate that. Those are good recap stuff. So this one's from Zachary H. Beach. Did Brian know from the beginning what was going to happen with Carter, which we've kind of addressed a little bit, and was it always planned for things to go the way they did with Carter? If not, when did it take that turn? But we kind of plotted all this from the beginning.
I don't know if we planned the betrayal from the beginning, but we had everything else.
We had the idea.
Yeah.
I built this character under the premise that it was not going to end well in some fashion.
Yeah.
It can't.
Right.
With the way the character's designed.
Right.
He is evil.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
I wasn't I don't remember if we had a plan for a mid-campaign betrayal or more of like a in the end game betrayal or not.
We were wrestling with it, and me and Will would talk about it like, is now the time? When should it be? Do you think here? And then it got moved up. It changed, and I think it felt right. It felt like the right moment. But I did not think I was going to live through the fight.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
And it was because of me. We had some messy stuff with like the way the spells work. Like Carter might have had to take an extra 20 damage from the firewall. But I want to address that he had the armor of Agathis on and lots of HP left, and he still had some stuff up his sleeve to mitigate 80 points of damage if he needed to.
Right.
With the Tomb of Levestus. There were things that would have had to happen. There was also like was I supposed to go prone again with the ice sphere? We're not positive right now. We're gonna hash that stuff out.
The main reason that he lived was I think Sebastian was rolling really badly. Was that it? Like
I surrounded him with dudes.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he had to make a choice: either go after Carter or try to save Prim. And his priority is, protect Prim. So
of course.
Yeah, kicked in like I'll have to try to get Carter some other time. Let's go save Prim. So I think that's what happened with that. And just kind of a side note too. Everything with Sebastian and Carter, I want to let everybody know that was like organic. That happened. It's like I had no idea. I mean, I knew Carter was messed up in the head.
Everybody knew
I
Carter
had no
was
idea
evil.
what was going to happen. So it all came up organically as we role played. And Brian had some cool ideas. He's like, okay, things are going to happen. Just act normal how Sebastian would do it. I'm like, okay, let's go with it. And so I think that may have sped up, the betrayal of Carter because of the way that Sebastian was reacting to certain things.
We started leaving more breadcrumbs. To kind of hint like, well, I'm doing these intros and to try to show that Carter's clearly like fucked up.
Right.
And that needs to start kind of leaking out as he's spending more time and like being cooped up in this place in space. He can't leave, and he's just like in his bunk, and he gets kind of stir crazy, like. Doesn't know what's going to happen. He's paranoid. He's just like running protocols on the ship. Like need to scan. Can't be caught by bounty hunters. Can't be caught by anybody. Constantly 24 hours a day. What does that do to your mind when you're this way? Constantly paranoid and constantly trapped by your paranoia. And that's just like all mechanics kind of bleed into it. So I was really thankful that you guys react the way you did to Carter stuff. Percy's kind of naive, easy to manipulate a little bit by Carter. He played it low key and close to the chest, but with Sebastian, I like that he starts to like kind of put it together towards the end.
Right,
it was really good, and it was organic. I mean, I knew that I was going to try to do these things during the session. Let's see how they go.
Right,
So let's move on to Mariko Fujimoto, legendary listener.
Hey.
I'm almost certain these relate to the characters and not us because she's asked us specifically these questions. Although maybe not Jake and Freeland, I'm not sure. Maybe but not. What? The legendary question, the breakfast burrito and or... She literally wrote just the breakfast burrito and or sandwich question because she knows I'm going to fucking know what she's talking about. So what's your guys' character's favorite breakfast burrito and or breakfast sandwich?
Ooh.
I think for Sebastian, man, it'd be a burrito just filled with all different types of meat and cheeses. Just like that's it, just all meat, and cheese.
All the pork,
pork.
The 10-layer breakfast burrito.
Bacon,
sausage, ham, bacon.
Does Persephone eat meat?
Whatever
she does.
Okay.
That's cool.
I don't I don't see her as like a vegetarian or anything like that. I feel like out in nature, you do what you got to do to survive, kind of view. So she'll eat whatever. So I think. It'll probably be that, or probably be like a supreme pizza of a burrito, like a bunch of veggies in it, but also a bunch of meat in it. Also,
nice. So both burrito boys.
Yes.
Or burrito girl.
Yes.
Let's see. Carter would probably eat a croissant sandwich.
Oh, sounds so good.
Some ham, cheese, jalapenos.
That's making me hungry.
That's one of Brian's favorites too. I mean, there are things that Brian and Carter share together.
His evilness.
Clearly.
No, not at all.
But yeah, Echo I think would go for like a lighter option, but stay burrito. He's gonna want the hash browns. He's gonna want the cheese. He's gonna want probably just eggs, man, and then maybe like one or two strips of well done bacon.
There you go.
Get that crunch in there.
I like it.
Not too greasy. As long as it's not too greasy. Echoes doesn't want to feel heavy all day. So what about how about for you, Will? What about your NPCs? What kind of burrito do you think Victoria would eat?
Victoria is
or what?
Definitely gonna order a Moons over my hammy.
Nice, that's a good sandwich.
Yeah,
hit up that Denny's, boy.
Yeah, so that's Victoria. Prim probably. I don't know. I got nothing. Like, she doesn't know what a breakfast burrito is.
We gotta save her from space hell and then take her to breakfast.
Right.
Go to Space Denny's.
Go to
Go-to karaoke song for each of the characters.
Oh shit!
Don't do this.
These are great questions.
Oh my gosh.
Man, okay.
Well, Carter's gonna sing.
Oh my gosh.
What's that fucking song that we were doing during the Blood Gala?
Thunderstruck. Yeah.
Thunderstruck. Yeah, cool. Carter's is Thunderstruck. I'm gonna think about Echoes while you guys go.
Yeah.
Gosh, man.
This is hard.
Sebastian, I think, would be Tequila. Just stand there awkwardly for like a whole minute until it's time to say tequila.
Yeah, I can see that actually. Yeah. I have to think about that. I don't know offhand. That's a tough question.
Yeah. Is it Best Friend by Queen? You're my best friend.
I can see her.
You're my
I can
best
never
friend.
see her
Organ.
singing Queen.
Yeah.
I like that.
That.
That's good.
Nice.
I was gonna something naturey, but I don't know what.
Nature Boy by Nat King Cole.
Maybe.
Stupid.
Just fucking a track of birds tweeting.
I just do bird calls into the mic.
Yeah. I don't know.
This is nature number 5.
Nature number
It's like
5.
Mambo number 5, but just
But with
birds.
more nature. Yeah.
Sebastian would definitely have to do some hard rock or something. I can see him doing like
Oh, some screamo stuff.
so even like Bulls on Parade by Rage or something
Nice.
along
Okay,
those
that's
lines.
cool,
You know,
that's
I
cool.
can see something like that.
I could
so.
definitely see that. Yeah.
Just fucking orc screams into the mic. It's like kind of like pig squealing. Sweet.
I could definitely. Vicky or
Oh
Prim?
my God, you guys are killing me. I feel like Victoria listens to a lot of gorillas or space gorillas. In
Space
this case.
gorillas.
Gorillas.
We gotta start coming up with real. And Echo's gonna lead the charge on it, but we're gonna start coming up with real names for space stuff.
All right, sure.
And I've become Echo as a person who actually Echo is not a time traveler. Just so
No,
everybody
he's not.
knows.
He's not a time traveler.
He's not a
yeah.
time traveler. He is a resident of the
this
world that
galaxy,
exists.
yes.
And therefore he will
No things.
personify. I'm gonna actually do some world building on
Okay,
my
cool.
own. So
Sounds
like
good.
that's just gonna be it.
That's too funny.
So you guys will know the names of
We're going to
places.
continue calling shit
The
space
Echo
shit.
playlist.
Because we don't know.
So go ahead with your karaoke stuff, dude.
I said it. Victoria listens to gorillas.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about Watt and Prim?
Prim just listens like to EDM or some
feel
shit.
like-
Yeah, Prim's
feel
into like lo-fi
Watt-
stuff.
I feel like Watt
lo-fi
definitely listens to like math rock.
Okay, dope. That's really cool.
And Prim, I could see her really liking, I don't know, piano instrumentals.
Ooh, I can see that.
She's more of a sit down and listen to people karaoke type.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's
very
like,
much
I'm not
so.
going to participate.
Yeah.
Let's do a rapid fire, chunky or smooth. I think Will should be more familiar than anybody with this. But,
You would think so.
which kind of salsa do the characters prefer? Smooth or chunky? Freeland, go.
Smooth.
Chunky. Like it is in the war.
Carter chunky. Carter chunky. Echo smooth.
Victoria chunky, Watt chunky, Prim, either or.
She doesn't care.
Yeah.
Let's do another one. Peanut butter. Freeland, go.
Oh, either or doesn't matter as long as it's peanut butter. Good.
I feel chunky.
Carter smooth. Echo smooth.
Victoria doesn't like peanut butter, Watt likes it chunky, and Prim likes it smooth.
Okay.
Hey.
Ice cream. Freeland, go.
Oh my gosh. Salted caramel.
That's smooth or chunky?
Smooth and chunky.
What?
Well, does your ice cream have stuff in it or not?
Oh, I thought you
I
like
see.
Is it
Like
just a
ice
straight up
cream
creamy flavor, or are there chunks of stuff in it like Ben and
chunky.
Jerry's?
Yeah.
Chunky.
Chunky.
Maybe a mint chocolate chip.
Chunky.
Yeah.
I guess that's chunky.
Yeah.
Chunky enough. Carter, smooth, Echo, chunky.
Okay. Did you have flavors?
Was that what the question was? Or
Carter
was it
would like
just-
butterscotch, like the candies. He would try to find that flavor, he's like obsessed with that shit. So, Echo, he's probably going for the Ben and Jerry stuff, like the cookie dough or the brownie stuff, like mixed in. You know, Cold Stone it up. Even though I kind of don't like Cold Stone anymore.
Oh, no.
And yeah, that's it for me. What about you? Your 3.
Victoria likes pecan praline.
Chunky.
Watt likes pistachio.
Chunky.
And Prim's working on it. Ice cream really has not
Yeah.
been her
Yeah,
thing.
she's got some bad
Neither.
experiences.
But if it were chunky or smooth, what do you think it'll land on? Chunky or smooth?
Probably smooth. She's trying to start simple.
All right, so we have some more from Magnus Rock. We're gonna get to the last bit of his questions, and then we'll kind of do a little. We'll figure out what we're gonna do for the end because we don't really know. So to the cast, if you could make a modern in that future timeline character, what kind of character would you make? This goes for Will as well as he uses Prim. So
okay.
I feel like Prim is a future character already. She was made in this timeline.
Yeah, I guess so. Sure.
And I've already done it. I am now
You are
Echo.
yeah, indeed.
And codename Echo. We'll talk about more about Echo later. This is not Echo time. So Freeland?
I kind of with a connection with Iron Legion and stuff. I just kind of feel like a Dragonborn fighter would be kind of cool.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, that'd be dope.
Tank it hard.
Yep.
I was thinking of backup characters when we thought we were all gonna die in the Carter episode. So maybe I'll save one.
It was me and Will like Carter's gonna die, and it was
Yeah.
Jake and Freeland like we're gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It
strange.
was funny.
It could have gone way different, but I like the way it played out. So
well,
sorry
because Brian also like told me that day, like he was like, "Hey man, heads up, I'm gonna try to kill you." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." And so the whole fight, I was expecting you to target me, and you didn't target me once. And
didn't
I was
work
like,
out.
All right, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, "Ooh."
That was my thing. I was like, if I can get Percy off the board really quickly before she wild shapes, I can have a good old time with everybody else.
But then I nat 20 on my initiative.
Yeah, that kind of changed everything. Carter nat 1.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So I had a character concept. I don't know exactly race, but I wanted to do a hunter ranger, and then make him like a bounty hunter, so I could have like a plasma rifle instead of a longbow. I thought that would be extra dope in this timeline. Yeah, that would probably be mine.
Okay, yeah, and I did echo. I thought it was really cool to do an elf kind of the way it ended up going. Even though I've like traditionally on all of our shows detested elves, I thought it would be cool to kind of make one I really liked.
Sure.
So I did some things here and there, and you guys will learn more about echo later.
I think it was going to be a gnome or a halfling because we wanted to do the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, me and Brian were talking about like the lucky trait thing that halflings have. So it was going to be a halfling ranger, like hunter.
Yeah, halfling was on my thing too. I thought about rogue, and I ended up doing a little bit of rogue, and I thought about I didn't really think about much elves. I want to be a wizard. I want to be a full caster to see what that's like. It's my first wizard. It's my first rogue, and not my first fighter.
Right.
But, yeah. Well, if you had to make
a character in my own
character
world?
in your own world, even though you have to do it all the damn time.
Right. I think I'd probably explore more of the 9 divine precepts. So I'd probably build like a paladin of honor and go the lawful good route.
Oh, let's touch on the Aeneanisms a little bit because they are replacing the function of gods in this world.
Yes, to a certain degree. Yeah.
So there's 9 of them. They all kind of. I think we actually posted that up in the Discord. So if you guys want like little like bullet points on what those cover, they basically cover like ideals.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
They're all attached to something, and there's some yin and yang going on with the positivity and the negativity and and life and death and power and weakness and stuff like that. Yeah. Knowledge,
law and order, emotion and whatever.
You know, like
logic
and no emotion.
Yeah, like Greek gods cover this blanket of like sometimes weird little tidbits here and there, things that they probably just like snatched up that were available. I don't know. It seems like gods in D&D do that as well. They kind of grab what's available because that's what is available. So these kind of function like that. But yeah, if you're going to become like a cleric or anything, you got to pick one of these. So that's Victoria and Sebastian. They're both kind of powered by this stuff. Do you want to elaborate on that at all, or will it kind of play out later where we'll find more out about it?
I don't know if you find out more about it unless you go looking, really.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it comes. Really, that's more on Sebastian than anything.
Yeah, totally. He's got his hands full right now.
Yeah, he chose Dominion as his ideal. So.
Right.
But yeah, there's just 9 of them, and they kind of loosely all fit within like the 9 alignments of classic D&D.
Yeah. Magic is more like a blanket thing.
Yeah, for me, magic just permeates the universe. It's not something the gods created.
It's like gravity.
It was and always is. Yeah.
Okay.
And cool. Then same with the absence of the gods. Like basically like all that divine. Well, okay, spoilers. Like there's a lot I can't talk about.
Yeah, totally. We will have another SuperTalk Saga at the end of the campaign or close to it, where we will get into the nitty gritty of the spoilerific things that are going to go on. None of us really know about. There aren't a lot of secrets between us as a team anymore. Me and Will kept a lot of secrets from Jake and Freeland so that Carter could do his thing accurately. And I had like obviously a meta thing going on with the breaking the fourth wall and all that. Something I've always wanted to do on a show like this. So it was fun to do that and like write something that felt cohesive for Carter. Let's move on to another question. For this is another. All the rest of them from Magnus. So, for Sebastian and Persephone, what would you be doing if you weren't on your current path? Would you be trying to get back to your timeline or be bettering the future one? Basically, if Will didn't throw all this crazy bullshit in front of us, what would you guys be trying to do?
Right.
What if we never
That's
had
a good question.
What if we never had a Primina, and what if we never
What
ran
if
into
there
space
wasn't a
elves?
MacGuffin? Yeah.
Were we still blasted into space?
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
Okay.
And that sorry, but that could have been it exactly. I could have just blasted you in space and like let you guys figure it out from there.
What to do?
But
yeah. With Sebastian, he wants to go back. I mean, that's his mindset now, even too. Of course, he wants to take care and handle business now, but he would want, especially with the information he's learned recently too. He kind of feels like he needs to go back and save the orc race. Really, it's like someone needs to put them in the right direction, or if not, 1,000 years later or whatever, they're gonna all disappear. So he feels like it's his duty to try to save the orc race, and that's what he feels like the best way to do it.
That's cool. Learn what you can, go back in time and make the changes.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's cool. I think Percy would have just gotten her, like, my base concept for her is like Captain Planet / Doctor Who. So I think she would be doing that regardless. So I think she would still be trying to help people on planets. Whether successfully or not, I don't know. Maybe she would have just gotten captured by the elves and thrown into a choir. I don't know. I don't know. But I feel like she would still be trying to help people.
Yeah.
Okay. Carter doesn't operate under these circumstances. So I think they knew that because they directed this at you two. So what were your character's goals back in Old World?
Well, Sebastian, he was just trying to find his way. I mean, he was learning underneath his father, the ways of, his father. His father was a paladin also. So he was under training with him. Sebastian's still kind of on the younger side in his early 20s, so he was learning and went on journeys with his father. Never knew exactly what his father's end goal was. He just knew that he had some big picture that he was going after. So when his father disappeared and didn't come back, he kind of felt like he needs to try to figure things out on his own. So he was just adventuring, trying to find his way, really. See what maybe if he could figure out what's going on, what his dad was working towards. So
I think she would have just been trying to survive. She was out in the woods, and she probably would have just kept on being in the woods. Maybe just moved to different towns. Maybe like she kept on trying to go into town and find people. So
Right.
She probably would have just kept on doing that and kept on doing the crazy person in the woods vibe. Like that's it.
Echo's not from Old World, as we've kind of capped on. Carter's goal after the intro timeline is and always will continue to be seizure of power for himself and for personal gain. That he's just playing the game under the warlock as a warlock to gain power. This is the best, fastest way to do it. And I feel like he's pretty powerful in combat, but warlock is a little lacking in combat because of the limited spell slots. Eldritch Blast is cool, but essentially you're just a ranged fighter at that point to me. So it becomes more like I can't really talk about it because I want to do that cool arc at the end. So that will kind of reveal what Carter was up to make those sorts of things happen until he ended up where we picked up with him, which was like getting a summons from the king to go check something out, and his patron kind of like bumping him along this path to go do this thing. So let's get to the next one. What alternate class can you see your characters filling? So what if you could class change Sebastian, what would you pick?
I think just if he was just to straight up change the class completely, I could see him with his rage going some sort of barbarian or something like that.
Yep.
It's cool.
I think that tracks. Yeah.
Yep.
I think Percy would be either she'd probably be a cleric, maybe like a nature cleric or a death cleric. I think would fit her very well. I was contemplating multi-classing her like that, but I think I'm just gonna do straight druid. But if it's a total class change, then yeah, probably cleric.
I could see Carter as a necromancer.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's kind of an easy one. Or death cleric would have been cool. Like grave domain or whatever. And then I don't know, man. Otherwise, like he's a caster. He's built like a caster, so it's kind of hard to see him as not doing magic. He's high intelligence character, so that kind of just leans in. And for Echo, I mean, I picked fucking 3 of them. So I like the way this multi-class is kind of playing out. It's going to be really cool combat-wise, especially. And then he's got all kinds of cool... He's got just as much stuff as Carter did as skills-wise. And he's got even more utility magic-wise now. I don't have to worry so much about, like, damn, I really got to save this pop-off to be fucking cool. But yeah, it's hard. I haven't played a lot with Echo, so I don't know enough about him yet. I know a lot of things, but I don't know everything about Echo. I like to leave that space for my character to grow. So the last question, and then we can talk about whatever we want for a little bit. If Brian, Jake, or Josh was given the chance to DM a campaign, what kind of environment/theme would each of you want to run ideally? Like SQS is a space opera sci-fi. This is directed to each person. So Freeland, if you were to be in charge of the DMing for this operation, what would you choose to do?
Gosh. I don't have much experience as a DM, so I'd probably do something more traditional. I do DM a game off to the side with like my nephew Anthony and my brother-in-law Ryan and my friend Mikey, and just very loose game, kind of make up things as I go, but it's based off traditional world.
D&D vanilla, as we
pretty
call
much,
it.
yeah. I mean, I kind of homebrew and reskin a few things here and there, just kind of make up things as I go.
Totally.
So without my extensive knowledge of DMing, that'd probably how I'd have to do until I get my feet wet enough to try to do my own thing.
Okay. What would once your feet were wet, what would you try to? What's your where's you going to set your bar when the time comes to try and leap to?
Yeah. I mean, I always love space, but we're doing the space thing now, so I'd want to try to do something different. Yeah, I mean, kind of like what I'm doing right now. It's kind of base vanilla D&D, but I kind of did my own spin on it. It's kind of like a quantum leap thing where they keep getting displaced. They have to try to find their way home. So that's kind of what we're doing now.
Nice.
So I think maybe as I flesh out the game that I'm doing now and kind of get a feel for it, I could really see myself getting into that and doing like a quantum leap thing where they're jumping from world to world.
It's pretty cool.
Trying to find their way home.
Plane jumping and stuff.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. What about you, Jacob?
I mean, I have the one.
I played in a game that Jake ran.
My little stint with DMing, and it was a little dino world. I basically reskinned Dragonborns to be like descended from different dinosaurs, and you could kind of pick that. And instead of having breath weapons, it would be like a tail attack, or you could fly or bite attack, something like that. So maybe I'd do that and just flesh it out a little bit better and cut myself more slack with being a first time DM.
DMing's hard.
I'd probably go do that, and with as much knowledge as I have now, like probably make that a better game to be in, I think.
Nice. Cool. Okay. So for me, I already talked about it. We did Superquest Ultra 5, the ultimate adventuring experience. It's a mouthful on purpose because I love it. Me and Will were workshopping that name for a long time, I still love it.
Yeah.
But that was more... It's kind of set in traditional, but it had a lot of elements of, inspiration for me. Like Dark Tower was huge, and Terminator and like zombie movies. And I basically just packed those three things into a D&D campaign. We're going to use a lot of undead. We're going to use like old, decrepit, post-apocalyptic technology. Like this world was clearly built on the bones of another, and is, all magicked out and D&D'd out. And like old technology might still work and it might not, but you find like lights and wires and you're like, what the fuck is this shit? And then undead, and there was, tie-ins with planar stuff and like corruption in the flow of the world and that sort of thing. I kind of liked what I had going. I think I just need to kind of mold it a little crisper and give it a little more direction and make it a little more succinct. And I think it would work really well for what we're going to do in the future. But we'll see. I like classic. I think if I had to pick something else though, like something totally unique, I would want to go with like a Terminator style campaign, like Skynet. Like a really survival based game. I think that would be a lot of fun to play, where there are a lot of like hard decision making. I think that's super interesting in a campaign. Like not only moral decisions, but like where to go is hard to decipher, and picking somewhere. You only have so much information, and the whole world is a very treacherous place all the time. So it's hard to find sanctuary, and it's hard, when you find some place to party, it's going to be dope, that sort of thing. But what about you, Will? I know you've mentioned a couple things to us about what might be.
I got two different campaign ideas that I would want to do after this one. One is like a steampunk-esque universe set in like I want technology to be at like a level of like 1910. You kind of have like a World War I style theme going on in like a World War I era, like Europe. And then that's one. Of course, there'd still be magic and fantasy and all that stuff. And then the other one would be more of like a Trigun-esque, like desert, like
Planet
a desert.
Gunsmoke.
Yeah, like a desert cowboy western, post-apocalyptic technology, like so technology that falls anywhere between like western technology of the 1800s all the way up to like almost like Superquest Saga level, but there's no space travel. Like the world's been ruined at this point.
Yeah,
and
you're kind of landlocked.
that would be more of like a sandboxy, like everything takes place in this like region the size of like a county or something like that.
Cool.
And
cool.
Yeah, those are the two ideas I got.
We do have a superhero game that we run that's kind of on the steampunk level that you were talking about technology wise, where they're in like a 1920s boom. And
Right.
there's skyscrapers are being built, and there's like the magical essence of tech. There's things are possible with magic, like steam tech.
Exactly.
We use a lot of steam tech in that show, a lot of like arcane energy rocks, that sort of thing. And that's pretty much it. We got that's all that we've run Ranger Danger on our Patreon, which was a game, a comedy game essentially that I did. I loved all your guys' characters very much. We are going to do a second Ranger Danger.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
If we need another break from this show, that's what we'll do.
Hell
Right.
yeah.
We'll post it to our Patreon. But we've also done Vault Raiders, which are a series of one shots with rotating cast of characters, but I always play the same character. And then those are great. We also obviously we had Super Quest Ultra 5, which we may get back to someday. And then what else have we done in the Patreon? I feel like I'm missing
Halloween
something.
special?
Halloween
stuff,
special.
yeah.
An evil campaign. I think that would be fun to
was a lot of
explore
fun.
in the future too.
Sure.
That was a whole lot of fun.
Like a monster,
Kevin.
monster stuff. Oh dang, yeah.
Poor Kevin.
But yeah, you can check out all of it. Me and Will are on social media at the Dungeoncast, where this is presented by the Dungeoncast, pretty much Superquest Saga. But yeah, if you want all these exclusive rights, come get on our Patreon, and you can interact with us a little more on shows like this. We are going to do one more, maybe even two more SuperTalk Sagas. Either towards the end of this campaign or afterwards, maybe both. That might be the two spots that we do it, but that's pretty much it for this.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions that are, up to this point in the show, feel free to hit us up in Discord. We'll try to answer things that may be confusing or smooth things out, but hopefully this episode takes care of it. Do you guys have anything else you want to touch on before we call it?
No, I don't think so.
No,
Yeah.
thank you for
Yeah,
questions.
thank everyone for listening, for watching, and for sending in the questions.
Yes.
So just one last quick note from me. We are on like a semi-hiatus right now as we take a breath at the halfway point to continue onward with the rest of the campaign at full steam. The next episode will be out, like this one's supposed to drop
Next Tuesday?
next Tuesday, which is a week from March 2nd, whatever that is.
March 9th.
March 9th.
Something like that.
The following episode is going to come out on like April 3rd or something like that. It's like another few weeks away. We're going to keep recording and get ahead of ourselves a little bit, so we have a little buffer room in case we run into a scheduling hiccup. So thanks, guys, for being patient with us and for sticking around and for watching Superquest Saga. If you like the show, please like, subscribe, comment, hit the little bell, leave us an iTunes review as we are a podcast and a YouTube channel. Let that ad play, baby. Come to our Patreon if it feels like it does. But the best thing that you can do for us if you want to support this show is to tell somebody about it.
Tell some friends.
Tell lots of people about it. Tell your mom about it. Have your mom tell her friends at work about it or whatever, dude. We're totally about that. Shout us out on social media. The Dungeoncast does contests and stuff. We don't like to do ads and stuff on this show. We're probably going to keep it that way if we can. And yeah, hit us up, thedungeoncast@gmail.com, the Dungeoncast on Instagram, the Dungeoncast on Twitter. And we're going to call it a game.
All right. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.